This is my stream. That's it.
Anyway, what I did say is welcome to Trek Central live stream. We are getting a few technical things tonight. For anyone wondering, we're using a brand new YouTube system, and as you put it plainly the other day, it's not working that well, is it? It's terrible. Anyway, it should all be working.
It
now,
is
so
terrible.
There we go. Awesome. Okay, cool. Right, so Trek Central, we're hosting a Picard live stream. As you just heard from Nick there, Ketwolski, we're going to be talking all about Star Trek Picard and everything else. So, yeah, cool. Right. Awesome. Let me just double check that's working. Right?
It looks like everyone's good. Yeah, it looks like you're good now.
Yeah, it's sorted now. Just waiting for it to come from the back. There we go. Okay, right. So, where should we start? Should we just start jumping in with how we found the reviews in general? Or just how we found Picard in general? Because obviously, you stayed up to midnight your time, or EST, wasn't it 3 a.m. for you?
It was 3 a.m. for me. I took, talking about work, I took the day off of work that following day so I could stay up late so I could watch it when it came out, which I'm so glad that I did because it was definitely worth it. I watched it 6 subsequent times after that since then. I've watched it quite a bit. If this was a VHS tape, it would have already burned up in my VCR. But I just bottom line, I think that this was a perfect episode. I thought that it was a perfect premiere. I thought that it was just quintessential Star Trek. I thought the writing was great. I thought the story is very interesting. They didn't reveal too much, but they set up quite a bit of mystery and quite a bit of intrigue as to what is going on, not only with Picard, but also with these other characters that we've now met and what's going on with everybody.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I was blown away by it. Blown away.
So obviously, I can actually talk about this more. It's because obviously I watched it a week before with the premiere, so I've been sat around going, I want to talk about it at some point. Come on now. And when we did the last stream, I just sat there going, I don't know anything. So it's nice to actually be able to talk about this now. And seeing it with premiere was a fantastic experience, and obviously I can more talk about it. But everyone's reaction to it there was really good. But yeah, this episode, the way I described it in both my reviews, it's a bold and fantastic new entry into the Star Trek franchise, and it's just really fun. I feel like this is quite good. Yeah, there's a lot of words I could say. I've lost them all now, but you get the gist. It's really unique. And obviously, chat, by the way, feel free to type in what you think of Picard. We'd love to hear your theories, any questions you have as well, and what you think of it. We'll be reading some out in the chat in the stream tonight, so just let us know. But yeah, I guess one of the talking points, the theme. We were still talking about this before we started. What are your thoughts on the new theme? Because obviously themes are extremely important to Star Trek, and they're almost like the most memorable thing of the show in a way, apart from the main cast. I mean, we also still speak about Enterprise's theme to this day, which I liked, by the way. Shoot me. But I liked Enterprise's theme. But Voyager DS9, I'll sing it for you.
It's been a long road. Yeah.
Instantly immortalized.
Yeah, seriously. In terms of theme, like I've mentioned to you, like I thought it was very well done because from what we understand from the show is that the first chapter of this show is going to take place on Earth, with Picard slowly starting to gather the pieces together to go on this adventure that he has to then go on into space. And we obviously got a little bit of that in episode 1. So for me, the show is going to start off very slow, very strange, not something that we're used to, and then kind of open up into the more standard Star Trek space adventure. And I think that the theme perfectly captured that because it starts off kind of strange and very slow, almost Western in some regards. And then it kind of slowly transitions into this epic, more space theme, and then goes to more traditional Star Trek right towards the end there. And I think it captures exactly what the show is trying to tell us. It's trying to tell us something very specific about what the tone of the show is through the theme. So I thought it was great. I thought they did a fantastic job with it. It's definitely non-traditional though, and I can understand why some people don't like it, for sure.
It's, unique is obviously the best way to describe it, I think. But I think, like we chat from what we just said there, it represents and, resembles what is going on in the show, but also what's going to happen. I got the sense that, this is a shard, so something's broken and is slowly being put back together. All these pieces are coming together with Picard, like the story revolves around him, which is a given. It's called Star Trek Picard. The story is going to revolve around him somehow. More or less, like, it's all connected to him. It's going to be put back together by him. Like, you saw the Borg cube there. You saw other elements of vineyards, obviously the big setting, and also these cubes or octagons or whatever, like that shape that was in the you might know what I mean. There's like 2 of them in there, and I was like, I'm sure I've seen that somewhere before in Star Trek. I don't know where I've seen it, I've seen that shape somewhere, and I have a feeling it's related to Data or androids or something like that. I've definitely seen that somewhere.
I took that as, I don't know if you caught my review on that piece of it, but I took that shape as it split apart and then kind of became DNA strands.
I guess so.
You know,
yeah.
I think that was a visual representation of the positronic neuron that, you know, Agnes was referring to at the Daystrom Institute, where she was like, if you just used one of these, you could then rebuild a android or potentially even rebuild Data with just one of the positronic neurons. And I think that separation was obviously a cell division, and then it became DNA strands, and then it became something else, which is essentially what happened. That, from what we are guessing, is essentially what happened with Dodge and her sister, that assumingly Maddox or someone else built them off of that kind of formula. So I like that they do that. Because they did that with Discovery Season 2, which is that they started to put shit in the intro, because a lot of people just skip it. But they had the time crystals flying in the intro almost the entire season. The time crystals were flying through the intro.
Yeah.
But nobody noticed it. Nobody bothered to pick up on it because you just skip past it. But they did that with Discovery, so I was very careful to watch each frame of the intro for Picard to find stuff. And I think that's what that is.
It's, you know, it's... So I just got a comment in the chat where someone's like, hang on, did Patel Shiar create Doge? It's Dodge. It's Dodge, not Doge. The dog isn't a part of Star Trek.
It's Dodge. No, it's Dodge trucks. They created the Dodge Ram 1500.
Thank Christ for Patel Shiar doing God's work, honestly.
That's right, they are. That's right.
If you guys have got any questions, don't forget to put them in the chat. But I was also want to speaking about the Utopia Planitia disaster. We did get a hint more of what's going on there. So, you know, the attack on Mars. A bit more information was filled into there, which obviously links to Children of Mars, the short trek, which I know some of you haven't seen yet. But this obviously will count as spoilers, to be warned. And obviously in Children of Mars, we obviously knew there was an attack on Mars. We didn't really learn much about that apart from its rogue synthetics. Now, seeing Picard Episode 1, that's a detail we learn more about now. We obviously learned it was quite a catastrophic attack. 92,000 dead. So almost 100,000 people dead. Utopia Planitia is just gone, practically. And Mars itself is gone. One of the core planets of not only the Federation, but also the United Earth, as is in the Sol system, is practically just non-existent. It's there still, but it's on fire, apparently. So you can't imagine people setting up camp there, so...
So let me ask you this, and I have to rewatch the episode again for the 7th time, because I maybe I misunderstood it. I was under the impression that Picard led the first wave of the rescue armada out into Romulus. Then the attack on Mars happened, and they recalled him and the fleet back into Federation space. But somebody made a comment saying that no, the fleet was destroyed over Mars and they never left to go to Romulus. But I didn't get that.
I'm going to have to check the Countdown comic again a second. I have a version saved here. Because I'm pretty sure they was doing it in stages or something. Because I swear LaForge, and Dom's in the chat, he might be able to tell me as well. I swear LaForge said, like, stage 2 is ahead of schedule or something like that, while Picard was already on board with Verity gallivanting around saving stuff. So it's like, I don't know, I'm just going to open up this a minute and double check there, because if so, it makes sense if they're in a rush, you wouldn't wait for the entire fleet to be done while you've already got half of it ready. You just send it in stages. Like, that's logistics 101. So let's see here. You have an incoming transmission. The first wave is ahead of schedule. They'll be on their way to Romulus space by the end of the month, and that is in 2385, while Picard is already out aboard on the Verity. So you could presume one of them out and about, and maybe that's the ones which were called back. So I guess both those theories could work there. The majority of the fleet might have been destroyed on Mars during the attack, but one rescue fleet was already, or portion of it, was already out of the Verity and Admiral Picard rescuing it. Obviously, maybe halfway there, the attack happens and Federation go, well, sod that, let's go back.
Because I feel like if the fleet was like just ready to, like, in orbit, just about to jump away, like to go to Romulus, they would have showed that in the short trek. But what they showed was Utopia Planitia getting destroyed and then the structures on Mars. So I definitely took, because they even had several shots of a fleet over Mars with a brand new starship design in there as well, a new Federation starship design in there as well. And I took that as that fleet left and then other ships were being built and those got destroyed. Okay. I thought that's what happened. I need to watch it again, though, just to make sure. But I thought that's what happened. Because I was under the impression they were in the process of doing the work, and then they got recalled, and they just left them high and dry. That's what I got.
Yeah. I think, have you seen the teaser for coming up on Season 1? It was at the end of this episode of Picard. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
So
Yeah.
in there, you get a screenshot of, or like a flash image of what appears to be a brand new Federation starship, which looks like the early John Eves concept for the Shenzhou, whatever you want to pronounce it as. Don't shoot me. It looks like it's got a portion of the rescue flotilla or these ferries with them. So that could be showing us the first wave going out there. I have a feeling we're going to see more flashbacks, particularly to the attack on Mars, but tying in with the evacuation of Romulus here. It's two pivotal events around, Starship Picard. So I reckon we're going to see more of it, definitely that shot, especially in the next 2 episodes, I think, because obviously they're on Earth, we know, sort of, for the next 2 episodes somehow. I don't know if they're leaving it by the third one, but we don't know too much about that yet, so...
Yeah, I don't know too much about it. I know some people, spoilers are already out there, but I've avoided them because I want to experience
I think it's been presumed that at least the next 2 episodes are on Earth, which I'm fine with, and I think it makes sense for this grounded series, especially if we're going to see Picard, picking up the crew, like going to get Michelle Hurt's Raffi, etc.
On Earth is also a very loaded thing because we've already been off of Earth in this first episode, technically, because of the whole ending sequence with, was it Nareem? What is his name? Narek, there we go. So
How
close.
dare you?
There was an N. I was right there. Narek is in space with the Borg cube going to meet Soji, and so we're already in space. So I think that whole people freaking out. This is Star Trek, not Land Trek. All that, like, now we're like it's. I think the point of that was to showcase that Picard's going to be running this mystery down for the first 3 episodes, probably on Earth. Like he's probably I think that they established the rift between him and the Federation, and I think that's probably why they're not going to help him with his thing that he wants to go and find her sister, and then he's going to go and kind of, like you said, get his crew together, probably talk to the Rikers, swing by there. I just immediately assuming this, and then he's going to dip out, and then that's when he's going to contact the Serena. Then they're going to jump on board there, and then they're going to go on to the adventure to go find her sister and save her and stuff like that. So that's I think that's where we're
You just said something which made me speculate or think in my head there. We're presuming the Rikers are on Earth. What if they're on Betazoid or something else? Because we presume they are on there. Obviously the next 2 episodes we're presuming here. I don't know myself. I've not seen them. Nick, you've not seen them either. So it's like, there's they could, Rikers don't have to appear in next episode. They could appear in episode 6 or something like that, theoretically, whenever they're going to appear. And they could be on another planet. Like Betazoid. It would make sense. I mean, Troy was, meant to inherit her mother's status at one point, I presume, if that's still canon technically or somehow. I'd have to explore that more. Don might know. So maybe they're on Betazoid. I don't know. There's a lot to do at the minute, and I wouldn't worry about Picard being, straight away on, Earth, because it's meant to be a slow, character-driven story. We kind of knew this when Michael Chabon was involved in the first place. He always writes very detailed, almost character-focused stories. So we're going to explore Picard at this current stage in his life. And I think episode 1 does that really well. We're in this life of this man here who is in, I wouldn't want to say the final stage of his life, but I guess if you had to stage humans' lives up in one, he's definitely towards the end of his career and everything like that anyway. I mean, he's 92 in universe. I mean, I know we still saw McCoy around 152 on the Enterprise or whatever it was.
Right.
He's retired and he doesn't know what to do now. And there's one line that sticks out to me quite a lot. It's when he's just been recovered from the rooftop battle, and Laris, and however you pronounce Saberhand's name. Can you pronounce it?
No, I cannot.
It was however I'd have to learn it. But he basically wakes up again and says, "I've been waiting to die." That line really sticks with me for some reason. I don't know why. But it's almost like, up until now he'd given up and was just waiting for the inevitable for him to wait or not wake up one day, theoretically. Because he says it twice throughout the scene. He says it at the start, it's for waking up that isn't, when she asks about his dreams. And then he says that sentence, he confirms it and says it a bit more sincere and out loud, like he actually means it, which he does. So we're definitely seeing this more. And I'll say over the next 2 episodes, I think the whole Daj/Soji mystery is going to reignite, that captain we knew. And obviously, Zaberhand said this, and it's one of my favourite lines, to be the captain they remember you as. That's almost a line not only to the Federation citizens, but us as well, I feel, because we remember him as the captain. So it's now he has to propel himself back into that life where he is the captain we remember him as, back on The Next Generation, gallivanting around, quoting Shakespeare.
I like how his first thing when after he's be the captain they remember, the first thing he does is go into a room and just scream at a woman. She deserved it though. She was a jerk.
Make it so. That interview was quite interesting, to be honest. Obviously, we did learn a bit more details about the attack on Romulus, the attack on Mars, and the destruction of Romulus there. They're being cagey at a minute and not focusing on it too much. I have a feeling we're going to learn more details as it goes on, which is good. I don't want to hear everything of a plot in the first episode. I don't think anyone wants to hear that. So, there's definitely a story and a plot to be explored here. And what I like is we're not only exploring the future of the Star Trek universe, we're exploring the past as well due to the attack on Romulus and also what's coming out. So we've got Countdown issue 3 next week, which is due out on the 29th, I think. Yes, the 29th, which obviously hopefully gives a bit more background into the setting of Star Trek Picard, however that's going to go. So we'll see. There's a lot to go over.
Seriously, yeah, there's a lot more background information. We have the book coming out shortly too.
Oh yes, February 11th,
the novel
I believe.
version, which is going to have even more background knowledge that we'll be able to kind of glean some more information from. But yeah, so I have a question for you.
Go for it.
I immediately assumed that the sisters knew each other. Did you get that, or do you think that they actually don't know each other?
I don't know, because I think she makes the comment saying my identical sister has one, or my sister has one, or like my dad made it for my sister. So I think they know of each other.
Does she say that, or does she say
you're gonna have to do that because
it for me?
I can't look at the episode because it play the audio, unfortunately.
I'm gonna pull it up while we're talking.
Yeah, I thought she said it there. Someone else wants to. I'll read some comments in the chat in a minute. Someone asked you, "How's the wine, by the way? How was it? Because you had it at the premiere, didn't you?"
It was delicious.
Oh, nice.
I was actually kind of surprised. I expected the Zinfandel, because that's the one I drank. I didn't drink the Chateau Picard because that's still sitting behind me. I expected the Zinfandel not to be particularly good, but it was actually really good.
Oh, very nice. I might buy some when I eventually move. Housewarming.
You should be like Brie, who bought a whole another set, one for drinking, one for storing. So
fuck it, we'll just buy the whole crate instead. It is like $500 though, so maybe not.
Yeah, it is so expensive. Yeah.
Next up on Trek Central's GoFundMe, it's buying a crate.
Yeah, do you guys mind if you support me getting fucking ripped? Yeah.
The Romulan Star Empire and the Borg are back. Yes, obviously, the Borg are back in some capacity. I'm still not entirely confident on what the Romulans are doing with the Borg cube. Are they salvaging it? Are they repairing it? It's not entirely made clear. They're definitely they're remodeling certain parts of it, like redecorating. They've got the step ladders out and the cans of paint. They're doing something, but I'm not entirely sure if they're repairing it or salvaging it. It does make sense of what we know of Star Trek lore before. If you played Star Trek Online or read any of the other books and stuff like that, the Romulans and Tal Shiar always love to mess around with Borg technology. It's like no foreign thing. And Kirsten Beer has also like co-written and written a lot of Star Trek books which touched on the Borg, particularly with the Voyager books and the Open Circle stuff. That was really cool. Full Circle, whichever one it was called. There's a Star Wars thing called that as well, and I'm getting confused. So for her to write Borg stuff is very interesting. I want to know what they're up to, and it's got me engaged. I mean, Picard episode 1 has me engaged. Like, give me now. I want to see more episodes.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that's part of the reason why I've watched it so many times is that as soon as I watched it, I was like, God, I want to watch the next one. Which also, again, just to reiterate from the last time we talked, I'm so glad that I did not go to the premiere because now I'd have to wait another 2 more weeks just to get another episode. So sorry guys and gals, but
the question is, how many times have you watched episode 1 already? How many times have you watched it?
7 times total.
7 times. Okay, I've only done 3. Chat, let us know how many times have you watched episode 1 of Star Trek Picard, that is Remembrance. Type it in the chat now and let us know. I thought a bit mental for 3, but then I watched it first. I guess if we count the premiere, then it's 4 then. I guess it's 4. But I've not watched it anymore. Probably be a bit more over the week to start getting some videos out and writing some articles and stuff.
Just you need to watch it every day.
It's on repeat. I've actually, truth be told, when I was writing a review, which took me and Dom about an hour or 2, I was listening to the theme on repeat, so I basically had to quickly screen record the theme bit, shove it into Premiere. It's like, I shall now listen to this on repeat as I write the review. So Bree says 3. Dom's watched it 6 times. It's no surprise. There we go. So here's one interesting theory, by the way. Nero's ship from Star Trek 2009 had Borg technology involved on it. So a lot of people are theorizing there's some sort of connection there. I need to fact check that myself. But
was it Borg technology or was it just advanced Romulan technology?
I think it was advanced Romulan technology. I'm going to have to fact check that myself. Yeah. But someone else also did bring up, someone sent this on Reddit and in our Discord, but basically the reason Nero was so like F you the Federation in 2009 and basically tried to wipe anyone out he came across was because in Star Trek Picard we learned the Federation turned their back on the Romulans, was like, nah, you're on your own, good luck. So maybe that's the reason where he's like, yeah, F you all, basically.
Yeah, it does explain what his kind of hatred for both the Vulcans and the Federation, because it's not really explained at all in 2009, which I don't think that they really cared too much at the time. Nothing, not a dig. It's just they were obviously focused on telling a different story.
Well, they
It was
never
just
knew this
part of
story
the
would come
plot,
along
but-
at some point, so it makes sense it's
Right.
not going to match up anyway. Someone else just says, by the way, McPhee, where does Spock fall into this? Interesting thought, because we hear, or we see in the 2009 background stuff, that Vulcans basically built the jellyfish ship, which Spock used to seal off the red matter, or used the red matter to seal off the supernova and attempt to save Romulus. Obviously, that didn't work, and he was dragged through the was it rip entire? What do they call it? Black hole. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was a black hole.
Yeah, and him and Neo fell
So
through
at
that.
the time of the, so what I'm thinking is, and this is just me filling in some lore right now. I think we're gonna get some more information on this, but likely what has happened was the Federation said, we're gonna help you evacuate. Then the Mars attack happened. The Federation abandoned their plan to help evacuate the Romulans, and that's when the Vulcans intervened with the jellyfish last minute and tried to save Romulus. Maybe that's why, you know, Spock was so late to the game, because they had to try to build it as fast as possible. That's just a speculation on my part. They may be trying to work that into the story. I think we'll get more of that fleshed out possibly in the book.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think they're going to be doing too many Spock references in the show, especially considering at this point he's been gone since 2386. So he's been gone for quite a few years.
It's interesting if they do mention it, how it be handled. Is he KIA or MIA? How are they going to deal with one of the Federation's greatest ambassadors? Because he sort of had this problem in the Next Generation, so it's like, I wonder how they've listed it. It's going to be interesting.
They probably
to see.
KIA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, screw that guy.
So I did watch the episode just now, or the two sequences. So Daj, when she shows Picard the necklace, Daj doesn't mention the sister. She just says, my dad made it. But at the end, Soji says, my dad made the necklace and gave it to me and my sister.
So that one knows she has a sister, but the other one somehow doesn't.
Potentially, but she may not have also mentioned it, because obviously they wanted that to be a reveal at the end of the episode, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense that she wouldn't have mentioned it, because she was a little bit focused on, you know, her boyfriend getting stabbed to death in front of her and her finding out she's an android. So she probably didn't think maybe to mention it at that time. Yeah, she was probably a little distracted, but I don't think that would be an interesting plot point that only one of them knew about each other, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just that she didn't mention it in the conversation, because obviously they wanted it to be more of a grand reveal at the end with Agnes. I think that's what they were going.
So one thing I want to talk about as well and get your opinion on is, I spoke about this on our group chat as well, the almost calm technological advancements that have gone on in Star Trek and for Picard, obviously, because I think one thing when Discovery came out, it was very futuristic, which is almost a shock to the system, because it's meant to be before the original series. So they shouldn't be using holographic displays and stuff on the bridge. It's almost a little bit, whoa there, calm down. But putting that discussion to the side, as we've had that for many years now, Picard obviously is now set practically 20 years after Nemesis. I know it's specifically 18, but you get the point. Almost 20 years after Nemesis. Naturally, there is going to be, you know, advancements in technology. And what I love of that is they've not done the radical approaches like everyone's using holographic displays now. Instead, it's advanced nicely where LCARs are still being used, but they've just evolved ever so slightly. So where it's now futuristic and it lines up with what we should have in the future. Star Trek was always meant to be a representation of the future. So the first thing is like you had touchscreens and pads, which is meant to be your phones and iPads. We have that now, but what we don't have is holographic things which pop out of my phone. We'll probably have that in 20 years and Star Trek will be like, hey, we did that. So what do you think of the technological advancement which Trek has done and how the designers of Star Trek Picard specifically have handled it?
I think that they did it. I think they did it really well. And I say that for two things. Number one, we did have advancements in technology, which showcases that things moved a little bit more past since we last saw everything in Nemesis, which was the holographic interface that Daj used when she called her mom and then found, you know, Jean-Luc. The other advancement being this whole quantum museum that Starfleet has, which is obviously very futuristic technology that we haven't seen before. But they blended it well to the point where, like, this old painting that Data put, or, you know, Picard, or potentially Data, but probably one of the two of them put into this quantum museum had the LCARS database thing still in there, because it was probably built when the technology was still a little bit old, but it wasn't quite as new as it is right then. So it kind of had like a good mixed feel to it. Like, I do feel like they sat down and said, we can't have, you know, this is a museum, so it should have some kind of antiquated-esque system that is used to kind of, you know, manipulate some of this data. But then also Daj, being a young a young woman, which is
Yeah.
essentially, a college student, going to become a fellow at the Daystrom Institute. She's going to be hip with the new technology. She's going to have the new fucking interface thing that Jean-Luc wouldn't have. He's got the standard TV thing in his house and kind of whatever else,
Yeah.
the standard technology that he's grew up on. He's an old boomer in that instance. Where he's got his
Whoa.
older. Oh, I know. Whoa, hey, yeah. But he's like, I like my tactile pads and I like my L cars because that's what I grew up on. I don't want this holographic stuff.
It makes a lot of sense.
I feel like they definitely spent the time to make sure that it was used in the right spaces. I thought it was great. I thought they did a good job with it.
There's a lot of we've got a video coming out soon for those interested. It's 10 details you missed from Star Trek Picard. There's a lot of details you probably wouldn't have got on your first watch through. Watch again, you might see some of them that refer to things from DS9, The Next Generation, other species we've seen, and boy oh boy is it good. That video should hopefully be out on Sunday, so keep an eye out for it. It's going to be very fun to see all those little details. But I'm just loving the way they've handled Picard. It doesn't seem like a radical shift from what we know. If you've just watched Nemesis and now jumped to Picard, it's not going to be like, Jesus Christ, what the hell happened? Whereas if you watch the original series and went to Discovery, yes, you can make the exception. It is, 50 years later, but it is kind of like, hang on, how do we do that?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I actually spoke to my dad yesterday because he was kind of waiting to hear what I thought of it before he sat down to watch it. And I was like, you should be good to go to watch it. Because he doesn't really keep up with a lot of the stuff going on.
Yeah.
He doesn't watch the short tracks. He doesn't really keep up with the news. He's just kind of like, whatever's on, I'll watch the shows when they're on. And I was like, there's going to be a few things kind of, essentially the attack on Mars and all that stuff like that. So there's going to be a few things that you may be kind of like, okay, what's going on? I don't remember that. I don't remember seeing that, from the movies or the old shows. So I'm not quite sure. I was like, there may be a few things in there, but I was like, if you really listen to the dialogue and really pay attention, probably have to watch it a few times. They do a good enough job with setting things up without it being like, well, if you didn't watch the short trek, then you don't know what's going on. If you're not familiar with the extended canon, then then you don't know what's going on. They did a good job with trying to remind everybody of what's going on and setting the stage while not also having too much exposition about like just constant like, and then on this date, and then on this date, and then this date. I thought they did a pretty good job. I thought they did it well. I thought they did it well enough. I think some people are still a little confused. I've seen a lot of comments on my channel of people kind of confused as to certain plot points. I think that may be because some people, I think I would really recommend some people go back and watch again because because this is written by, Michael Chabon. He does a lot of great work with the dialogue. And if you're not super paying attention to what's going on, you're going to kind of miss it, which is very different than Discovery, where they just say a bunch of things and then they just kind of go off and then there's explosions and all this excitement. Whereas this one, it's like the plot is the conversation. Like you need to pay attention to that.
Definitely. It's one of those shows where it pays almost to pay attention to everything going on the screen and also behind the main focus as well. Because I think, it's one of those... The writers behind this, and certainly the team, they're very talented in what we've done, where if you're like, watching the main thing, which is good, so you're watching obviously the person on screen, which is Picard, if you're watching behind him as well, on the screens and displays and whatever other people are doing behind that, you are catching other details as well, which is important. So, I don't know, if you like this, watch it through at another time. Something I want to quickly touch on, before I do though, for those saying, are you worried about Discovery ships? We'll speak about it in a moment, it'll be a topic we are talking about today. I want to talk with you, Nick, today about the reviews and particularly people saying, I was warned this show would be bad and now I've come in and actually really like it. Now, I've found this as well. A lot of people have commented on our review, and it's nothing bad, if you've been, listening to stuff like that, but always make up your own mind, I think, when watching stuff like this. Like, you can take our review, for instance, it's good, we praise the show. Then there's other reviews out there, I won't name them for obvious reasons, who are basically, saying it's not that good, and everyone is entitled to their opinion at the end of the day. However, don't base your experience off of someone else's. It's kind of a point I want to get across. Because I'm seeing a lot of comments, I think you are as well, Kat, about people saying, oh, I read a review and it said this show is bad, but I actually really liked it. Don't base your own experiences off of what someone else has said. I think, that's kind of a point I'm getting at. You might have more to add on to that one.
Yeah, I would agree with that, what you said. You need to experience it in its entirety for yourself. If you're interested in watching it and interested in trying to understand it, don't rely on another person's review to give you your opinion. And that should go for really without saying, but a lot of the comments that I got on my video were from people that I felt did not actually watch the episode. A lot of people were repeating the same wrong information. And I feel like if they had watched the episode, they would have definitely caught on. The two biggest ones being that Romulans are supposedly spitting acid blood, which clearly that's not what happened if you watch the sequence. And the other one being that they cloned data from DNA cells, which is, again, not what happened at all. But there were certain review videos that came out that said those things that I think has caused people to think these terrible things are going on because they didn't bother to go check it out. I did have someone who was commenting quite heavily on my video openly state that he didn't actually see the episode. He watched a couple of clips and had a verbal conversation with somebody about the episode, and then was trying to speak, authoritatively about their opinion about what was going on. And there were just things that this individual was saying that were just so bizarrely wrong. And then I asked, like, did you see the episode? And they were like, actually, I hadn't seen it. And I'm like, okay, so, all right, like, I need you to go watch the episode and then come back and talk to me. If you haven't seen it yet, you probably should before you write it off, and I would just encourage people, if you didn't like Discovery, I get that. I get that.
Definitely.
I understand a lot of the concerns and frustrations people had with Discovery, but do not allow your hatred for one show to bind you in a way that prevents you from going to enjoy something else. Don't allow it to don't limit yourself with your own hatred. Don't allow it to control you. Put it aside. Go watch this thing fresh. And I would think that you would be surprised to learn that it's actually quite a bit better than I think some people are giving it credit for. But that's all I'll say about that.
And I completely understand, people may not be a favorite of Discovery. For me, like, I look back at season 1 sometimes, I think, yeah, it's not my favorite thing in the world. But I think, even if you were turned off by Discovery, give Picard a chance. It's on CBS All Access, it's on Amazon Prime, etc. It's very accessible to watch this thing as well. There are clips of it already out and about on Twitter. Have been released of the interview and a few other character meetings, stuff like that. They're not too spoilerish, but obviously watch them at your own discretion. They're pretty cool. So just give it a chance. Okay, moving on to our next topic, so we can fit everything in today. A lot of you are commenting in the chat about the reuse of Discovery or Star Trek Discovery assets in Picard. This is something we can talk about for a minute. Particularly one of the big things I brought up in my review was the reuse of the Discovery shuttles. I don't know what the class of these shuttles are. I just know it's disco shuttles. I do believe they actually have a name. The ones used in the trailers or for Children of Mars, and actually in the short Trek Children of Mars, are the same exact model used in Discovery. Some people have matched those up on Reddit, etc., and put them together. Not entirely sure about what we're doing there. I can understand using it in Children of Mars because it was obviously a short trek. You probably think, we'll save a couple of quid, a couple of pounds, and just put them in there. Makes perfect sense. However, we are still seeing them used in Picard. My only legit lore reasoning, if I had to make an excuse or a reason behind this for it, and I hate to do it, is if a Federation have had its most prized shipyard blown to hell and back, they probably don't have many starships sitting around at a minute. So obviously all the old stuff's probably been pulled out of a shed, and I go, right, use this now. But what are your thoughts on the reuse of the Discovery shuttles? Because without getting too emotional, I could talk for hours about it. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with your in-universe explanation. It's not bad. I think that's actually got some pretty good merit to it. My thing is, personally, me as an individual, I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. But I know that it does bother quite a few people. And if I'm being honest, it clearly is an attempt to save some money, because to spend money to go ahead and do a whole nother digital design of a whole new shuttlecraft, which essentially is on screen for less than a few seconds each time.
Yeah.
I think it was something that they should probably not have done. I think that they should have done just maybe made it smaller, because that's kind of what they did a little bit with, from TOS and TNG. They obviously made
at least
it,
change some details on it to flare it up a little bit. Make it look like change when the cells look. That was one of Trek's biggest thing. Yeah. Just change when the cells around, bang, new shuttle, new ship.
Boom,
they could have done something like that.
It's a whole new class of shuttle. Right. They could have done that very simply. I think it was wrong for them to not do that, unless your theory turns into not only just a theory, but something more close to fact, which is that they are having a shortage of starships. And maybe we'll even get some of that in the conversation that Picard has with that Starfleet admiral at headquarters, when he asks to be reinstated. She could very simply say, like, our fleet is stretched thin. We lost a huge number of ships, and we haven't been able to replenish them after the destruction of the Utopia Planitia. And that very much could be a reason as to why people are zipping around with the old shuttlecrafts and stuff like that. I personally didn't mind it in a short trek such
Yeah.
as yourself. I actually thought it was kind of cute that the school bus was an old shuttlecraft because, of course, the public school system still sucks in the future. I thought that was like fun.
Just cram them on here, hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. I thought that was like a cute, like little nod to
But also
that
technology
situation.
can last longer by then. I mean, like, if you have a car now, how old's your car, respectively? Like, if it's like a year old, this won't matter.
It's funny you say that, though, because as much as people want a whole new design, but cars essentially have...
Before we do continue, thank you to Sean, who just donated £2, sorry. You can watch Children of Mars in the UK. We don't know yet. It should be on Netflix soon, but we'll update you when it is. If not, it's on CBS All Access and CTV Sci-Fi Channel /Crave. It's available on there. No date on international release yet. So as you were saying.
No, yeah. So, like, vehicles have the same style to them as they did 40 years ago. It's got an engine, it's got wheels, it's got a steering wheel, it's got brakes, it's got a windshield, it's got all these things, right? Like, to say that, oh, this shuttle is nothing now because it's too old. Well, we don't really actually have any idea what shuttle that is. Yeah, it looks like it externally, but they may do some beta canon, book about ships of Picard, and that could be the Discovery shuttlecraft -32, and it's the latest model of that version. I think it's still lazy. I think they could have definitely spent a time to just change it a little bit so that we could externally see something, but they're probably going to try to cover their tracks essentially in some kind of extended novel. But I don't know. Like I said, to me, it doesn't bother me at all, but I understand that. I get the fact that people...
Starships and technology is a very big aspect of Star Trek because it represents what we could have in the future. When people first saw the Enterprise and then its future continuations, like, wow, this is amazing. I will say, if I don't see an Odyssey-class starship somewhere in the background, I will raise hell and back. We got the Verity. You have teased me enough. Give me the full thing on screen. I want it. So does the entire STO office. We want to see the Enterprise F or Verity. I mean, providing the Verity survives issue 3. We've not seen issue 3 yet, so
That's
I mean,
true.
Hopefully Picard, if that does survive, I'd love to know where the hell it's gone, because I can't imagine they just go, what, Admiral John Luke Picard's starship? Nah, let's get rid of that. He retired. Stuff him.
I am fully ready. There is no way in my mind that they're going to slip this show through without popping up the Enterprise F. There's no way. And the reason I say
or
that...
Or the E if it's still around.
Or the E if it's still around, but I doubt it. I think they probably...
I think they want a new Enterprise to go with. Much like, when Berman's era came on, they got the Enterprise E. That was their new flashy ship. Obviously, they didn't get to use it as long as I think they were hoping to use it for. Still turned out to be an iconic ship. But I think CBS want their own Enterprise they can design and play with, because obviously we now have got the Disco Prize, as it's been nicknamed. I do find that name quite funny. That is actually in episode 2. We do see it in a little teaser. It's as a hologram, and it was the Pike's Enterprise we saw from Disco, the modified stuff. I think if CBS had their own Enterprise, they'd love that. My only hope is, please use the Enterprise F. We already have one, which is much liked by a sector of the community. Please? Yep. Pretty please?
They will. They will, just for the fact that now they can then merchandise that thing.
Thank you, Igor Moss. I have a model on my desk. If you can make an XL one, Chris or Ben, please, I'll buy 10.
Yeah, right, exactly. That to me is the only, that's the only explanation I need, is there's no way that they're going to miss the opportunity to, if they spent the money to digitally recreate the Enterprise D, which they did, they definitely spent the money to create the Enterprise F. 100%. I guarantee
or at least the E. It's it's going to be, because a lot of comments at the minute are saying, where is the E? Now, according to Countdown Comic issue 1, spoilers here for that one, it's implied by the time of 2385 that Worf is the captain of it. They don't necessarily say it, but I think if you read the lines, would you agree? It definitely seems like Worf is the captain of it, in my opinion, because they say how he's not going to give it up easily. There's no one else on the crew who makes sense. We know, obviously, Riker and Troy are off commanding the Titan. Data's obviously dead. LaForge is doing the shipyards thing. So he is not going to give it up easy. Suggests Worf. Obviously, it could be Miles O'Brien. No, it's not going to be him. But, it could be someone else. Make it open. There's no other male character, unless I'm forgetting anyone, from the TNG stuff that is going to be in command of the Enterprise. It could be someone from Voyager or DS9, but it doesn't...
I think you're forgetting a very key, crucial character.
Who am I forgetting?
Wesley Crusher?
Oh, bollocks. I mean, he's back in the ready room now. If he can make a cameo any time now, it'd be surprising. Maybe they put Jamie
I
in
would
command.
not be surprised if he wasn't. It could be Worf. So in my opinion, it would have been Geordi. We know Geordi was on Utopia. So the likelihood that it's
Well, we know Worf was already first officer. So I hate to interrupt you, but we know he's first officer due to the first duty exhibit. It's implied because it says at 2381, when Picard retired, he gifted the Batleth, which he used to Picard as he retired in 2381. Fast forward to 2385, not retired, so he was promoted and left the Enterprise. Ignore what I'm saying. Picard is now in command of Verity, he's an admiral, and he's left the Enterprise. Worf was a full-blown commander by 2381. Most likely he'd given up the ambassador thing and was back in Starfleet. So if he's a commander on board the Enterprise E, now I know typically being a first officer doesn't automatically elevate you to captain. However, with Star Trek in the Enterprise, it's usually a given, to be honest. So
it is, and he's got the experience. He's got plenty of years of experience, and having a Klingon captain in the Federation is, of course, a huge PR thing, obviously, and great for relations between Kronos and Earth. So, we don't know anything about the political situation between those two warring powers currently, which I don't know if we will get that. But if I had to put it on it, I would say 90% it's Worf, 10% it's Wesley. If I had to put percentages on it.
Make your throwing Wesley's name
out there. Just in case it is Wesley, then I can say that I was right. That's just really the only reason I'm throwing it out there. But yeah,
I do hope we see it in there. I mean, so far the Enterprise D, seeing that in like 1080p 4K was fantastic. Like that thing there, when that first appeared on the premiere screen, I had to keep quiet about that for a week. It was so annoying. So when they released that trailer, I was like, yes, I can talk about it slightly now. But seeing that on screen was fantastic, and obviously a big screen as well. But yeah, they really did well bringing that up to 4K standard. So if they've done that one, we've got to have the E and the F. Come on now. So I definitely think we're going to see more
I don't
ships.
know if we're going to get the E. I don't know if we're going to get the E. I think we're going to get. I think we're going to go straight to the F. Specifically because, like you said, they want their own Enterprise.
They want something to play with, essentially. But they can shove in merch, and maybe if all goes to plan, they can do another spin-off series of a new Enterprise. I think that's their ultimate dream. We know a Pike series is somewhere in supposed development, whatever that may be. So it's
and if it's Worf is in command of the Enterprise, then people are gonna be like, all right, now give us a Worf series.
It's funny you say that, because we know Michael Dorn has been asking for a Captain Worf series for quite a while. Like even before Discovery came around, he was asking about one. And when Discovery came back online, obviously they had a little issue with the Klingons. He was asking for a Worf series again. Apparently he wrote the scripts himself. I remember him and Marina Sirtis talking about this. He's done it himself, so not written them fully. He's like basically helped with them, and they've got some stuff going on there. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'd love to see Michael Dorn back on our screens. I don't think he's going to appear in season 1, the way it's like the comments around the show have been implied. But what we do know is CBS and the current cast have been very good at hiding who is on the show. Up until the announcement, we did see Marina Sirtis, Frakes, and everyone else flat out lie to everyone's faces due to NDAs, obviously. But they weren't in it. So Michael Dorn saying he's not in it, it's possible. I don't know. We've got to see it. But someone's saying, wasn't the E destroyed? The E was critically damaged at Nemesis and then repaired. We don't know its current status. We know it's active as of 2385, thanks to Countdown Comics. However, they aren't fully canon in a way. Weird, I know. So we don't technically know its status. But it should be active by 2385, at least around the attack on Mars. So there we go. You were saying?
Yep. No, I was going to say that we did get that little bit of a Worf tease, which they tried to quickly cover up because the clapper, the final one that was used for the final episode for filming, had the signatures of the actors that were present there.
Yeah.
And Michael Dorn's signature is on it. And they were quick to say, oh, he was just on set that day, and that's why he signed it. They were like, no. He was just there. He was there just hanging out, and
conveniently signs a clapperboard. I mean, it's just...
Right. So I would not be surprised if we don't get to see a little Worf action at some point for sure. I would be very surprised.
The way they've written this series and what the executives have said is there has to be a good reason to have them in the story. For me, my dream ending to an episode or Picard season 1 is basically him and the crew being stuck up Schitt's Creek, and suddenly the Enterprise F with Worf or the E, whatever, comes in and miraculously saves the day. Obviously, we know Riker and Troy are supposedly not in Starfleet anymore. I mean, they could just be having a day off, it's implied. We don't know yet.
They're on
So
vacation.
yeah,
We don't know.
having a day off. Personally, I was expecting like the Titan, to come in, but obviously we know it might be out of the picture by now. Also, we don't know until we know more. That they're obviously being very
Right.
secretive around this. But I'd love it if Picard and his crew are in there in a tiny little starship battling up against a Romulan Borg cube or something. Suddenly, brand new Star Trek or Starfleet flagship comes in, saves the day. That would be a very ultimate flagship moment. It's very like, First Contact. Sir, there's another ship on Census. What is it?
Right, exactly. And they pop in, and then boom, there it is. Yeah.
Suddenly petition for an Enterprise F series. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I do want to touch on this. I know we're talking a lot about
go for
Worf right now, but I do want to say that it has been stated in interviews that Worf, if he were to appear, would not appear as though the Klingons looked in Discovery.
Yes.
They said that he would look closer to what he looked like inside of TNG and the TNG films. I think that they'd probably do some redress, but not to a radical extent where his nose is going to look weird and he's going to have all the extra prosthetics that L'Orel and Takuma and all those characters were wearing inside of Discovery. I think that they probably recognize that if they did that, people would probably.
I think that'd be the end.
They would lose everyone. They would lose everyone. I would be upset. I think everybody would be upset if they just totally changed the way Worf looked. But
they're not going to do that.
I don't think that's going to be that way.
Yeah, I think the way Brent Spine has been handled as well. If they do need to digitally de-age anything, like they've got the resources to do it. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. But they're not going to make him like Discovery Klingons. I mean, I'll happily eat my words if they end up doing that, but oh well. I can't see them doing it because they know the damage that would cause, and they've seen it firsthand. There was an interview with Alex Kurtzman recently and the executives where they mentioned, they are always listening to what the fans are saying, particularly when they know the obviously comments and criticism, I'll use those words lightly, around the Discovery Klingons look, and that actively improve as Season 2 goes on. It's still not perfect, some would say, but I think we can say the look of the Klingons in Season 2 is definitely a step in the right direction for how they should look according to canon and such. And things are always going to have their modernization. I mean, look at the Romulans. In TOS, they were just looking like normal blokes in funny outfits. I mean, that was most Star Trek in general, to be honest. But
right.
In TNG, they've got a bit more unique personality and unique features to them. In Picard, the Romulans have also had another redesign in the fact Evan Evagora is dressing like he's out of Lord of the Rings. I'm joking, it's just a joke. Each Romulan sect is looking different, and that has been explained sort of off-camera by saying there are different types or different groups of the species, which does make sense given presumably the species is all split up, they're off doing their own thing. So they are going to evolve in different ways. This has been 18 years, etc., since Nemesis. Obviously, the Romulan Empire was shook up heavily during Shinzon's coup. There's a lot of stuff going on, so it makes sense they're going to appear differently, dress differently. The ones on the Borg cube, obviously up to some weird shit as usual.
They're doing something, yeah.
The ones on the colony, the ones on that colony which Picard's getting thrown out of a bar for some reason. That bar scene is really interesting. We see in the trailer him like getting what looks to be thrown out of a bar. Then we see Seven of Nine shooting the place up. Presumably it's the same place. It's like service in there must be really bad. All the man wanted was some Earl Grey.
Yeah, they didn't have that there. They don't serve your kind.
If that scene came in. I mean, the Earl Grey thing was quite funny to talk about. Who the hell drinks decaf Earl Grey? So Star Trek's ruined for me now. Decaf Earl Grey.
Yeah. They had to change his drink 25%.
Oh, God, no. Let's not go down that road.
So a theory I want to talk to you about real quick.
Before you do, if anybody wants to get questions or stuff in the chat now, we'll answer some of them after we finish this theory. So, after you. Nice class.
No, yeah. So thank you. The thing that I wanted to talk about is people have been asking my comments and online, like, what about lore? What's going on with lore? What happened with lore? Lore. Mm-hmm. And I'm throwing it out there that I actually think that it's going to be kind of a switch where we're constantly thinking that these are Data's daughters, Daj and Soji. But I'm actually thinking that Maddox wasn't able to do it with Data's stuff, but he was able to do it with Lore's stuff.
Yeah.
And they're actually Lore's daughters, and they're built from Lore's positronic neurons instead of just Data's. And I think that's why they haven't mentioned him yet. That's my theory right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we don't actually know where did Lore end up, because as we know at the end of Descent, he was basically powered off, wasn't he? And that was it. That was the last time we saw Lore on our screens, was when he tried his little Borg thing, and that didn't go to plan, you could say. And Picard and his heroic Enterprise stopped them all. But what, did they just shove him in a cupboard as well? I presume they must have dismantled him. Starfleet must have realised after all of these attempts now that it was probably like, let's not keep the manic android alive. He's taken over the Enterprise, destroyed a colony, recruited some Borg. I don't think this is a good idea. And if so...
I think... Yeah, I don't think so. Sorry, go ahead.
What the fuck are you doing creating some clones out of the madman, basically? Maddox, seriously. Unless this is the extent Maddox went to... If so, it would explain why Soji is suddenly working with some Borg stuff, especially if Lore had some sort of connection / fascination of him in a way. That's a long shot there, but...
It is, or it could also be something else, you know? It could be that they were using Lore to begin with, and that's why the synthetics went rogue.
Because he never responded to his master, essentially.
Right, because they had a little Lore blood in them, little Lore positronic neuron blood in them. And that's why they went crazy, because Lore was essentially crazy. And Maddox, not necessarily because the project got canned, but because of his great shame that he caused that to happen, he went into hiding and then utilized Data's positronic neurons to create the perfect androids, which were Daj and Soji. So that might be it. I don't think that they're just forgetting that Lore exists. I don't think that that's
with the detail they've done so far in referencing certain events. I don't think anyone's forgotten about Lore. Just because it's not mentioned in the first episode doesn't mean they've mentioned. We've got 9 other episodes here of this entire plot and story of season 1. Something is definitely going on. I see a lot of people commenting about Commander Maddox. We do have a video coming on him very soon explaining his entire story, so don't worry if you've not caught up on all the details. But people asking where he's gone, obviously we don't know currently. Do you reckon he's going to appear, Nick? Do you think he'll appear of some sort?
Yep, I do. I do 100%. I think that, first off, I absolutely think that they're... I don't think that the memory of the girls being from Washington State is a false one. I think that they're from Washington State. I think that Maddox has a laboratory there, and that's where he made them. And I think that they spent time there. And I think the woman that Daj calls and refers to as her mother isn't her real mother, obviously, not her biological, but was a mother to them, very similar to, how Dr. Soong's wife was a mother to Data and Lore and B4 and the rest of them. I think that she helped Maddox probably build these androids and helped raise them. And I think they're hanging out in Washington State. And I absolutely do think that Maddox will show up, and hopefully, and that may even tie back to my theory of why the synths went rogue. We may have to go to him to find out, and then that's where they have this reveal potential.
Indeed, because Picard does mention in the interview, with the lovely interview of the day, it's not the word I'd use, begins with a B, he says to her, we still don't know why the synths or the synthetics decided to go rogue. So himself, the Federation, they don't know what's going to happen or what's happened here to cause the synths to go rogue. So this mystery could still be, here, and Starfleet we don't really care anymore. It's, oh well, problems, there's not really much we can do. Because Starfleet definitely looks like they've lost hope of some sorts. There's definitely something going on with the Federation as a whole. They withdrew one of their greatest admirals, and what I've described as poster boy for Starfleet basically resigned over it. That's a pretty crippling blow to your organization. So something's going on here. They're up to something. I see quite a few people saying, Section 31 are up to something. I like the idea of that, but at the same time I don't. I don't really want Section 31 anywhere involved in somewhat with Picard's story, because I feel like we're getting a bit too much of them at the minute. And it's also technically they're meant to be dissolved by this time as well. But I don't know. What's your opinion on Section 31 being involved in the story of Picard? I personally, I don't think they're going to do that. Just the same way that we're not going to get much information about the Klingons in this show. I think that they recognize that there's a bit of an inundation with those kinds of characters right now. And I think that they're going to be trying to move on to talk about other characters. And I think throwing in a whole Section 31 subplot is just going to make things more and more complicated. I think if they are referenced, it would be like in a line, like a reference like in the script, not like these guys are Section 31. Like maybe Section 31 is involved potentially with whatever the hell is going on that Borg queue, but not to the point where we're going to have like, these are Section 31 operatives, these are Section 31 people doing this and that. I would be surprised. I mean, we still don't know what's happened to these rogue synthetics. The entire attack on Mars, like I said, we're going to learn more about it, but it's not really explained. We obviously know they attacked Mars and killed up to 92,000 people, almost 100,000 people. Utopia Planitia is practically destroyed. I would say it's hard to imagine the whole thing is destroyed, but it's definitely crippled beyond repair, probably. Mars is obviously a write-off. So were the rogue synthetics destroyed? Did they blow up? Was it a suicide attack? Did they go up with it? It's, or did the Starfleet task force arrive and blow the hell out of them? Because they're not going to come in and go, do you fancy talking about this? They are just going to open fire straight away if you've almost just blown up a planet. So, I don't know. Rogue synthetics, are they still out there? Are they dead? We're going to obviously learn more about it. Some are coming up on season 1. We're definitely going to see more flashbacks. We see the F8 android supposedly in the room where things are going on. We see the rescue armada being built there with a new type of starship, which is looking great, by the way. So, yeah, I want to learn more about it. I do have some screenshots which I'll put on now so people can see here. But, yeah, there's definitely a lot at stake here. So, episode 2. Let's talk about this quickly. What do you think is going to be the startup for episode 2? I definitely think this is good. Obviously, we know from Matthias as well. This is going to be the one where Picard goes to Starfleet and asks their help. And I think most likely he recruits Jurati here into the team. Maybe she comes and stays with him. But also at the same time, we see from clips that the house gets attacked. Shattered Picard seems to get attacked. It's implied that these Romulan agents come looking for Daj or Picard at least. Maybe the necklace, because that's some significance. Anyway, I'm rambling on. You take it away.
I think that so here's my concern is, well, first off, I don't know if it's Picard's house that gets attacked. It's hard to tell. I think it's likely to assume it's Picard's house that gets attacked. It could also be the Riker's house that gets attacked, because it could be either one. I'm kind of on the fence as to who it is. If it is the Riker's, or excuse me, if it is Picard's house, hopefully they don't kill Laris and Zhaban.
See, it's funny you should say that, by the way, because I know we shouldn't trust. This is minus spoilers, by the way. I know we shouldn't trust IMDb listings, but one of those characters is only listed twice, while the other one's listed 3 times. Now, if all 3 episodes are on Earth, that implies something, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
As you were saying, though.
Yeah. So one of them might die.
I hope not.
Which is hopefully not. We do know that. The dog, number 1, stays behind on Earth as Picard goes off on the adventure. So obviously he's going to entrust him to someone that he knows. He's not going to give it to just anybody. So one or both of them will probably survive the attack on the house. Likely I don't think they're there looking for the necklace. They're probably there to try to clean up. Probably Picard's going to go to the Federation. He's going to ask to be reinstated. He's going to ask to go look after Daj's sister. They're going to tell him to go pound sand. He's going to go home in frustration, and then they're going to come after him because there's probably some cahoots with the Romulans on the cube and the Federation. They're probably in some kind of connection. I'd be surprised if the Federation was completely unaware of what the Romulans were doing. So I think there's probably some cohesion there, specifically because if Soji is a doctor and she's from Earth and she's working on the Borg cube, how would she get there? Without some kind of coordination piece, you know what I mean? So I think that there's something there. So maybe they go after Picard to try to clean up, the story so that nobody knows what's going on. And then they defeat those guys. And then that's when potentially one of them dies. And then he's like, all right, now I need to go do this myself. And now he's going to go off on that adventure. And I don't think that's all going to happen in episode 2. I think there's going to be a point in there where he visits the Rikers and potentially even Raffi, who looks like she's on Earth just based off the fact that she's at Vasquez Rocks. That doesn't necessarily mean that she is on Earth, but she potentially is there, so he may go to get her, and then her contact potentially with the La Serena, and then that's how he gets on board there, and then they go off on that adventure. So
speaking of Michelle Hurd, we definitely know there's some sort of connection between Raffi and Rios. Something's going on there, but yeah, it's interesting. So just asking for Andrew there, season 1's been wrapped, filming correct. Yep, season 1 of Picard's all done and finished, that's why it's releasing now. Season 2 is supposedly in pre-production according to industry sources. We know they're currently up to something. Whoopi Goldberg, who played Guinan, was recently invited officially by Patrick Stewart live on The View, which is like an American program, to come and join season 2. We also know a few other actors are being spoken about. Robert Picardo was tapped for season 2 a while back at London Film and Comic Con, which is in July or June. Dom, fact check me on that one. So he was tapped for there. So we know season 2 is heavily in development at the minute. I don't think they started filming yet, but they're definitely at least in pre-production. So they're getting assets ready and preparing. Release-wise, I'm going to predict and say that might release in Q2 or 3 of next year, which is anywhere from March onwards. I can't see Picard season 2 launching in January 2021. It's be ambitious if it does. Yeah, I think we might.
I would be surprised. Yeah, I'd be surprised by that.
It'll be a tight turnaround if they want to do it.
Yeah, that'd be a quick burn. That'd
They
be a very, very
might
quick
want to
burn.
stagger their content, so every now and again things will air at different times. So this year the first series we've got is Picard. Next year it could be Section 31. The following year the first series could be Discovery season 5, theoretically, or 4 actually.
Well, that's the thing is, yeah. So from what we kind of gather, not to go on a tangent about S31, but what we kind of gathered, their production cycle is ending in November, and that could be them preparing for a January release of Section 31 for 2021, for sure.
Yeah,
That might be enough time to January or February, a 2 or 3 month post-production cycle to get it wrapped up.
they
That's
turned
very
Picard around pretty quick. Like we knew finishing details were still being applied as late as December, and then the marketing ramped up to it. So, I mean, for the rate of technology and stuff they use these days, it's pretty quickly and easy they can wrap up stuff if they put enough like resources to it. So I think seeing Section 31 in January is going to be interesting. Also, we don't want to tangent up for too long. I'm pretty sure we'll create some more videos and chats about that another time. But rounding off this Picard stream, as we're going to go on all evening, what are your main wishes for the rest of the season? Is there any core thing, whether it's someone appearing or something you hope they cover or stay true to? Is there anything you want to see or hear in the rest of season 1? We've got 9 more episodes taking us all the way to the end of March. What do you want?
I mean, beyond all the normal fan stuff, seeing ships and stuff like that, the thing that I actually really, no kidding, want to see is the conversation that Picard has with Starfleet Command.
Ooh, yes.
Where he resigns. I want to see it.
Oh, yeah. You can imagine it's like one of those... because he saw similar things in Insurrection where it's like, Picard's like, this isn't right, Admiral. And you can imagine how that conversation's going to go down. Was it with a Starfleet Admiral? Was it with the Federation Council? Because presumably, he was an Admiral at the time, so it's not like other Admirals were sat there going, Captain, you can't do this. It's...
Right.
You're right,
So
that would be great.
He could even went to the Federation President.
Yeah.
And all the way up to Nanette Bacco, whatever.
Here's your job, now sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the reason I bring that, I think it's potentially possible that we'll get that or something similar. The only reason I say that is they bothered to spend the money to make the uniform.
The Admiral uniform, didn't they?
It. Right. They
we saw that on display.
Right. So is it likely that we'll get to see that? I think so. And I hope that sequence is him resigning and screaming at them and telling them how shitty they are and really giving it to them. That's what I want to see. That's me. What about you? What do you
Well, now you just brought my imagination back up again. They created the Admiral uniform, and this is on display at DST. It was also the first Contact Duty exhibit. I believe it was there, or at least revealed. That uniform is the same he uses in Countdown while commanding the Verity. It's also the same seen in the attack on Mars. You see it on the screens. Picard's wearing the same thing. I think that is just the Countdown cover, copy and pasted, but we won't go into it. Anyway, basically, I think I'd love to see him on the bridge of a starship in that uniform.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
He does make that comment in one of the upcoming trailers that, I used to remember standing on the bridge and I was, completely alone in all that emptiness, something like that. Something like that. It's like, I don't know. If they've created this uniform, why create the bloody uniform in physical thing? Or in physical, if you're not going to use it. Obviously, maybe the props department had 5 minutes spare, but it's not going to cost you a fiver to make that. It's going to cost them a lot of money to make that uniform.
Correct. It's not something that they can
just generate a lot of theories there. A lot of people are going to be talking about that one.
So I think so. Yeah. Man, I've got so many other theories going on in my head right now. So
tune in every week. Okay, everyone, if you've got any questions or anything like that, let us know in the live chat now. We'll do a quick round of answering some questions, talking about that, and then we'll end off the stream. We are going to be back every Friday at 9 p.m. GMT, or a little later, maybe 10 p.m. GMT. We'll update you next week. It'll either be myself, Nick, maybe one of our other presenters hosting along, talking about the latest episode of Picard and doing various things. It's sort of like our version of After Trek, apart from it's not geolocked. It's just a joke.
Oh, snap. It's not called After Trek anymore.
Sorry, it's not, isn't it? It's Ready Room. What? Is it always called After Trek? Someone else has got a podcast called that now, I think. In fact, someone has a podcast called The Ready Room, I think. How's CBS have let that one go?
Sure, they probably sent a cease and desist letter.
We can't bring this anymore. Spoiler, the synth attacks all Q's fault. I've heard a lot of comments about the dog being Q. If that turned out to be true, that would be quite funny at the same time. Q's secretly been very annoying Picard the whole time.
It's funny that you say that because I had that same thought in my mind that the dog
You
is
can just
Q.
imagine him
I don't know
popping
why.
out, can't you? I don't think it will
Just
be,
hanging
but it
out.
could be quite funny if it, I mean, Q can turn people into dogs. Poor Crusher, It's. Do you think Geordie
Right.
survived a Mars attack? This is a very good question. It's going around in a minute. I would like to answer that question when we see Countdown issue 3. We don't know what that's going to cover yet. We know Commander LaForge
True.
is in it. Whether that's going to touch immediately on the attack on Mars, we'll have to see. So I think he did, but I don't want to comment on that just yet. I don't know if you have any personal comment on that, but I'd like to wait for issue 3.
Yeah. I would be because LeVar Burton is not too old and he's not dead, and he's expressed interest in returning to play the character.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're going to kill off
No.
LaForge off screen. It's just not going to happen. There's no way. He may appear as a flashback to him dying on Utopia Planitia. So maybe that. I think the better question to ask is, will we see him inside of Picard at some point? And I think the answer is yes. I think we'll see him on screen. Now, whether that's a flashback to him just getting something exploding in his face and him dying, that may be the case. But I do think that they wouldn't kill him off screen without showing it to us. That I don't think they'll do that. No
So
way.
here's a quick question building on that. Do you think there are cameos, some other Legacy Trek characters, which we haven't been told about yet? Do you think other people are going to pop up? Because obviously a big thing is, a lot of people saying, CBS are cashing in, etc. Because they're like, hey, look, we've got all of these guys back. Come and join us. I don't think they're going to, deal the whole hand straight away, to use a term. They're not going to basically, do everything. We know there's some certain teasers coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if, people like Janeway are back. I wouldn't say she's definitely back. There's got to be another character there, or some, whatever the poker term is, like ace of cards, etc., whatever it is, someone's there hidden away, at least some reference, whether it be an alien species, an object, a location, a ship, something there is going to be their thing to pull out. A bit like how the Enterprise was at the end of Discovery Season 1. They're going to have something that's going to make people go, Season 2, keep talking. Or, there's going to be something else there, isn't there?
Yeah, I am still strongly of the belief that Q is going to be in the series. That's based off of that leaked photo that we saw on Instagram. I still strongly believe that Sela will be a character at some point. I do think that I think they're gonna bring back everybody. I do at some point, whether in season 1 or 2. I think everyone's gonna get the time to come back and do something. And I think the idea that I don't think that there's a way to satisfactorily tell the end of Picard's story, because that's basically what we're watching. We're watching the end of Jean-Luc Picard.
Yes.
I don't think there's a way to do that without bringing back some of the iconic ones. Sela is kind of on the fence. I still think she's going to be there just based off of some info, but she's not necessarily the hardcore one that I'm super there for. The one I'm super there for is Q. There's no way in my mind that they will write this show ending, whether it ends after a second season or not. They probably, or maybe they'll only do a few seasons. I was kind of surprised when we got a second season. I thought they were just going to do a one self-contained one, but I don't think there's any way that they'll go through this without bringing Q back to mess with Picard.
I just had a quick thought. Thank you to VT, who just donated £2, by the way. How do Romulan agents infiltrate Earth? So we'll answer that in 2 seconds. This year's Voyager's 25th anniversary, isn't it? And Voyager's quite a very pivotal, big show for Star Trek. A first female captain, such a very good story as well. I know not everyone liked Voyager, vice versa, etc. I loved it, and I was rewatching it last night, actually. I was rewatching Scorpion. Love those episodes. I have a feeling we might see a special cameo from someone related to the Voyager cast. What a great bit of, cross-promotion. Not only is it the 25th anniversary of such an iconic show, which is a key, pivotal part of Star Trek, why not mix it with something new? It might be too late to plan that. We know they're tapping Picardo for Season 2, supposedly still. So what if they've already got someone for Admiral Janeway rocks up? I reckon it's possible, maybe.
I mean, they got 7, but
True.
I think it's possible that they could bring somebody back. I think that they're going to bring those characters back for the season.
For sure.
So I do. I think so.
To answer the question, how do Romulan agents infiltrate Earth so easily? We have no idea. Whether they have a base on Earth or whether that, planet transporting is actually a thing by now. It's a lot of stuff to go off of.
I'm sticking with my theory that it is because of the fact that the operatives who are manning the Borg prison cube is in cahoots with the Federation, and they're beaming in and out because they're also operating on Earth as well. And Earth is part of whatever program that they're running. Whether that program involves just running down rogue leftover synths to destroy, that could simply be their mandate. Their mandate is just go around and find any leftover synths and destroy them. That definitely could be the thing that they're doing. But I think that the reason that they're getting in and out and also having these very readily access to not only transporters, but not Romulan looking transporters, because all the characters had their color coded transport devices from the past. And they're using white, the whitish blue tint color, which is a Federation one traditionally, or kind of third party races. The other two big ones, Romulans and Klingons, had their own special looking one.
True.
So I think that kind of leans into that whole thing that they're working with the Federation. I think that's what's going on.
The Reclamation Cube is definitely a big talking point. A lot of people are asking where it is, whether it's in Romulan space. It's kind of hard to tell at the minute. We don't know the situation with Romulan space. Hopefully, like Nick said earlier, when we get to the Federation Admiral meeting, they might show a map. We did know from previous screenshots of one scene, it did look like there was some sort of map on a display in the corner there. We might get an indication of what the current state is at the minute. Presumably, the Romulans don't control much space anymore. If Romulus was destroyed and the Romulan Star Empire fraction, dissolute, whatever, they're not going to control what we did anymore. Most likely the Klingons and Federation themselves encroached into it. But then again, if Federation's shipyards were destroyed, they've not got the ability to suddenly go claim a ton of star systems and go, yes, this is ours now. So the almost galactic politics, in a way, is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So there's a lot of discussion going on there with how it's all relating. But the location of the Reclamation Cube, it's got to be just somewhere laid around. But like I said, there's so much we don't know at the moment. You know, the books explored the great Borg invasion of 2381, where the Borg basically rams the galaxy and tried to take over. Almost won, but didn't. So it could be left over from another Borg engagement. We know for a while they've been trying to invade the Alpha Quadrant. They try every 5 minutes and fail. So it could just be another cube that tried to invade Romulus and maybe died or got caught up in a supernova. No one knows really. And obviously, as the series progresses on, we've got 9 more episodes now. We'll learn more, hopefully.
I'm going to throw a theory out there.
Go on.
So in the final shot of the Borg cube, there's these little things all around it. These little green, they look like sensors. I think it's a large cloaking field. I think
hidden on Mars.
And I think it's hidden right on Mars because nobody's over there because it's on fire. And I think it's right there. I think that's also probably how they're getting to and from Earth so easily, is because they're not beaming very far, because they're only beaming from Mars, which is, for us, that's like a huge distance, but for Star Trek, that's nothing. So I think that it's right above Mars. I think it's cloaked, and I think they're going to go off on this whole adventure, and then they're going to be like, oh,
they're going to come back.
They've been there the whole time, and then they're going to go and they're going to get them. Yep, 100%.
That's an interesting theory.
That's the vote. That's what I'm sticking with.
We'll find out. I can't wait to sit here by episode 10 when we do our grand discussion and discuss whether any of our crazy, wacky things are actually correct. There's definitely a lot of stuff there. For the person who's asking Andrew about Picard's caretakers, they are Romulan. You can learn about them via Star Trek Picard Countdown. Definitely worth giving those comics a read. They aren't essential to understanding the story. However, if you do want extra information, they are worth it. Issue 3, the final issue, comes out on the 29th. I think if you wait until the 29th via Amazon, you can actually buy like a complete pack of all 3, or via IDW. It's definitely worth a read. They actually just announced, going off on a tangent, a brand new Star Trek DS9 comic starring Odo, which is obviously great because Renee sadly passed away recently. So now he's got his own comic. It's fantastic. I can't wait to review that one and discuss it more on the channel. That is due out in April, I believe. So we're getting a steady stream of Star Trek content at the moment, all relating to it. So yeah, I think that wraps us up on everything Picard today, isn't it? We could probably sit here for hours on end to discuss Picard.
We literally could. Yeah.
But hopefully everyone has enjoyed the stream today. Again, we will be back next week. I don't know if it's definitely myself or Nick next week, but it'll be someone from the Trek Central team. We're going to come on and hopefully talk everything Picard. Episode 2 is out next week on Thursday via CBS All Access and CTV Sci-Fi, and Crave. I don't ever watch that myself, obviously. And obviously on Amazon Prime on Friday. Regarding release time for Amazon Prime, as a lot of people are asking about this, it does look like it's coming out an hour earlier for the UK, so around about 11:30 GMT on Thursday. Whether that's going to stay true for all of the episodes, or it was just like an early sneak peek, they released it to satisfy everyone, I don't know, but I would presume midnight is your safe bet for Amazon Prime. That's midnight GMT. Obviously other European time zones, convert there. But yeah, that is everything for Picard. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you do want to read our reviews, are available via Trek Central on the YouTube channel. We've also got written reviews via our site, Ketwolski. You've got your own review over on your own channel. Definitely, guys, go ahead and check Nick out. If you want to type in the chat, just so people can visit your channel, that'd be great. And yeah, that is everything. Just a heads up, we're also doing a grand Picard giveaway via the Trek Central website. Come and enter it. We've teamed up with Hero Collector, who produce the Starship models, and also Fansets, who produce these really nice pins, which I got at Premiere. We're giving away free Fansets pins away, not these ones, unfortunately. They weren't out at the time. So going into that giveaway is a ton of good stuff. That is everything from us. Thank you for tuning in, and we will, of course, see you next time.